Aries, you know the drill. October brings a whole new set of astrological energies your way that are going to affect you in specific ways. So in today's video, let's dive into your complete guide to October 2025 and how it's going to affect you. Hello, my Aries sun, moon, and risings, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Isabel, your spiritual rebel friend, and today we are talking about your October of 2025 horoscope so that you can be advised and guided to the stars that are ahead for us in this upcoming month. In today's video specifically, I'm going to cover what may be coming up for you, Aries, in October as a general consensus, the major transits all planets are going to be doing in October, and my top advice and recommendations for you, Aries, to align with these transits to your benefit. So if you're someone who not only likes to take in the information of astrology, know all the transits and the aspects, etc., but you also want to know your key takeaway, what you should do, what you should think about, what you should contemplate, what you should act on, watch through to the end of this video where I will be sharing more of my top advice and guidance for you, Aries sun, moon, and risings. And final note, Aries sun, moon, and rising, before we get into your October 2025 horoscope, I will not be covering aspects in today's horoscope because the list was so insanely long that I'm pretty sure this would have been like a 3-hour video. But if you're wanting to know all the more minute aspects and details and transits that are happening astrologically day by day throughout the month of October, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications because every Sunday I publish a weekly forecast where I cover all the details and all the transits that are happening for the week. And if you are more of a written style person, you prefer to see things visually, stay tuned to the end of the video where I will share more about more of my offerings I have, including readings, weekly newsletters, and more. Point being though, let's get that all out of the way. Let's get into your horoscope. Let's start off with talking about what are the general major themes, Aries, that you may be experiencing in October. And I'm gonna put over the screen a little infographic that I made just for you, Aries, so that you can screenshot and make maybe your wallpaper on your desktop. I personally love to make personalized desktop wallpapers for my computer. And so I wanted to make one for each sign this month. Feel free to screenshot it. I recommend pulling up this video on your computer and then screenshotting it, and then you can make it your desktop wallpaper if you like it as your key reminders. I will also probably send it on my weekly email list very soon so that you can get it in better quality, because chances are this is not going to look very clear. It's going to look very grainy. Overall, Aries, this month really feels like it's asking you to open up and be courageous to sharing yourself with others. As you usually have around this time of year, this is your opportunity for relationships. You can feel like there's more of a priority on your relationships. After having a very intense eclipse season in September, where you maybe were focused on more of your relationship to yourself, focusing on your work, creating work-life balance, now you are entering the realm of relationships in October. And so October can be feeling like there's a lot of opportunities for connection, friendship, partnerships, really simple moments with enjoyable people. Overall, the major themes for you, what may be coming up for you in October, Aries, is this aura of connection, and not just connection with anyone, connection in a very vulnerable, authentic way. Now, why exactly do I say connection? I'm sure you can already take a guess, but with that kind of general consensus and the idea that this is really about your connection and your relationships this month, Aries, let's get into the transits that'll explain why I say these are the general themes for you. Starting off with the most basic transit per usual, the sun. The sun is still in Libra until the 22nd of October. And wherever the sun transits, think of it like how we have growing seasons for certain plants, fruits, and vegetables. Basically, wherever the sun is transiting, that is what we can be growing. That is what we can be nurturing during this time. And so with the sun in Libra, in the first 21 days of October, Aries, for you, this is your time, your season to plant and grow your relationships, your friendships, your business partnerships, and your romantic partnerships, whether Aries is your sun, your moon, or your rising, as Libra is your direct opposite, your 7th house. Libra season is the best time for you to nurture and grow your relationships. The sun says that with it in Libra, you can feel like you're gaining more vitality in life the more you prioritize one-on-one connections in diplomatic, balanced ways. How can you connect with another? And then from the 22nd onward, we finish out the month with the sun in Scorpio, which is Scorpio season. And this focuses your attention towards more intimate relationships. I love so much talking about the phases we go through from 7th house energy to 8th house, because the 7th house energy, such as Libra season for you, Aries, is making the connections, prioritizing the coffee dates, going on dates more than once with someone, starting to cultivate connections basically. And then we switch into 8th house energy on the 22nd of October. This brings 8th house energy of deepening those connections. So this really brings an energy, I think, for Aries this month. Hence why I say the overall summary for you is so much about connection this month, is because you're really going to be focusing this month on finding vitality and energy. The more you prioritize, let me connect with other people. And then as we hit the second half of the month, from the 22nd onward, you can find that you're finding more value the more you deepen those connections. Now, you may already find, I will say throughout this month, quite a bit of being honest more than you expect to, more vulnerable, and we'll get to later as to why. But let's also share first the moon's transits, because the moon is more of the emotional storyline. While you're feeling this priority on your connections overall, Aries, the moon sign says the moon transits tell us what your emotional storyline is that is playing out. So first we will have our full moon in Aries from the 3rd through the 9th and peaking on the 6th of October. And Aries, sun, moon, and rising, you guys are in the spotlight for this full moon. This is a major point for you that wraps up both a 2-week cycle that kicked off on September 21st with the new moon in Virgo at 29 degrees. But additionally, this wraps up a 6-month cycle that kicked off with the solar eclipse we had in Aries back around March 27th, 29th. I can't remember which day it was, but it was one of those two. And so with this culmination, you could be finding that you're having realizations and resolutions fulfilled regarding your sense of self. So just as much as you are focused on your relationships, Aries, sun, moon, and rising this month, you equally have to focus on yourself. And that's kind of how these cycles always work. We always have a full moon during a sun sign season that's in the direct opposite. And what this does is that it reminds us to not forget our other half, basically. And so Aries, while this is a month for you to really focus on your relationships and connections, the full moon in Aries comes in to remind you to not forget who you are and to see how far you've come and give yourself that credit that you really have become the person you want to be. This is happening in your first house with it in your sign. And so this is about realizing something about who you are, realizing something in your appearance, or feeling the sense that you've just simply become who you want to be. Now, additionally, we are going to have a new moon happening in Libra, your 7th house, from October 18th through the 24th, peaking on the 21st. With this new moon in Libra, this is you initiating a new beginning or new intention regarding your relationships. So the stereotype for a new moon in Libra for you, Aries, sun, moon, and rising, could be putting a label on a relationship. It could also mean meeting someone new. There's a new opportunity, a new intention, a new beginning regarding how you relate to other people, who you relate to, who you spend your time with, and what the label is on relationships. This has to do with our contract agreements. So if you are an Aries, sun, moon, and rising out there, or rising out there, this could be also a business opportunity, a business partnership specifically coming your way. Always, I like to remind my subscribers and followers and people watching these videos that oftentimes with new moons can bring new intentions, so something happening new internally or something new happening externally, but it's not one or the other. Oftentimes I hear people say like, oh, I thought that was my opportunity for love and no one magically came into my life. Maybe this is a new moon for you where you're meant to just set intentions for what you actually expect and get more mental clarity, which is just as valuable as the new opportunities coming in because the opportunities are always present. As I said a few minutes ago, you may feel like you're being very vulnerable and honest right off the bat in your connections, opening up more than you expect. And that is because of, for one reason, Mercury's transits, because in the first, from the 6th to the 29th, Mercury is in Scorpio. Mercury is finishing up its transit in Libra in the first 6 days of the month, but then spends 2 weeks in the sign of Scorpio roughly. With Mercury in Scorpio, during the same time as a Libra season, not only are you prioritizing already connections, friendships, partnerships, one-on-one time with people you love, but you're also communicating in a way that promotes depth and vulnerability. With Mercury in Scorpio already, this is a focus on bringing intimacy, investigation, obsession, connection, vulnerability, honesty, openness, and maybe even a bit of intensity to our communication style. This is the idea of, I say wearing your heart on your sleeve, but this is a slow opening process, like blooming a flower, as Scorpio energy is not necessarily open right off the bat. This is sharing your deepest, darkest parts of yourself. And especially for you, Aries, because this is your 8th house of sharing your shadows, having intimate conversations. I think of it's you're meeting someone and you're telling your life story and feeling a sense of, wow, I really just opened up. With Mercury in Scorpio, simply put, it says from the 6th to the 26th, Aries, you are rewarded the more you share yourself vulnerably and the more you focus on listening and communicating in a way that is interested, investigative, focusing on the deeper side of things, focusing on maybe what's unseen. Now, of course, the dark side of Mercury being in Scorpio could be mistrust. So do observe and take note if you're tending to be more mistrusting during this time. I think the positive side of Mercury in Scorpio is listening, in a sense, observing, taking on a stronger observation skills to see what is really being presented to us and to ask better questions. The downside is that we can assume that there's something we're always not seeing. So try to avoid this, taking this energy and making it about what is this person not sharing with me, but instead being more inquisitive. Then from the 29th onward, we will have Mercury entering Sagittarius, which brings our focus instead, Aries, to our opinions, our ideologies, and to expand greater visions. So this is going to be a big drastic shift for us, I think, energetically is what we'll feel. So that's Mercury. That is one of the reasons you may be feeling this sense of depth right off the bat with people. Additionally, we are going to have Mars doing some transits. Before we get to that, let's talk about next in the order, which is Venus. Venus spends most of its time in Virgo and Libra this month. Venus enters Libra specifically on October 13th. You'll see over the screen as I'm showing this that there are 2 oppositions that I have noted on the 11th and the 13th. I'm not going to really talk about them, but these are 2 days where love can feel at odds or love can feel confusing. Stay tuned for my weekly forecast when I touch on what these oppositions mean more. If you are someone who is more developed in your astrological interpretations, take note of the day these oppositions are happening and noting the planets that they're happening with. Simply put, what I want to highlight with Venus being in Virgo and Libra this month is that with Venus in Virgo, Aries, you're finding a love for life the more you focus on habits, routines, and stability. So especially in the first 13 days of the month, Aries, you may be wanting to live a simpler pace of life and a slower pace of life. This combination of both Libra and Virgo energies for you brings an aura of stability and enjoying the process. I know already right now, as of recording this video, just the idea of taking my time with work and working more actually just at a slower pace is very appealing. I just poured myself my nice pour over and ate my fresh homemade pumpkin bread that I made while I doodled away on my little desktop wallpaper that I made for you guys. As an Aries sun, very fulfilling. And I think that aligns with this energies. Maybe you're feeling like you just want to embrace a slower pace of life in the first 13 days of the month. When Venus enters Libra, love kicks into high gear. Venus is the planet of love and prosperity and wealth. And so when Venus enters Libra, this means that your love life is most commonly found the more you prioritize connection with others. And additionally, your love for life is accentuated the more you spend time one-on-one with others. I really do accentuate whenever any sign has strong 7th house energy to make one-on-one plans. And I personally need to be better about that. But I do notice that the more people make one-on-one plans, whether it's a coffee date, going on a date with someone you like, meeting a friend, whatever it is, one-on-one time is going to feel extremely valuable. And this could even bring you in luck and prosperity, as this is Venus. That's also about wealth. In the entire month of October, Mars stays in its sign, and Mars is your ruler. So it's really important to accentuate, I feel, what Mars is doing, which is staying in the sign of Scorpio. So funny enough, Aries, I want to note this, and I'm going to let this video get a little longer because I've gotten a lot of feedback that says, please just make your videos as long as you want. I like listening to them. So we're really taking our time here. Mars not only rules over Aries, but traditionally Mars rules over Scorpio. So with Mars in Scorpio, it is in its home. It's in its home sign. And so given that you are ruled by Mars, when Mars transits Scorpio, you feel this very strongly. And it's very interesting because Aries and Scorpio really do have such strong commonalities. And this is because they're ruled by the same planet, traditionally at least. With Mars in Scorpio, Aries, you can feel like your natural, innate, intense, impulsive to some degree, challenge-oriented personality now gets directed to your love life. It's almost like I get this aura that whenever Mars is in Scorpio for my fellow Aries, Sun, Moon, and Risings, it's when we want to embrace the challenge of love. Now, it's important for us to not make this turn into chaos or to create drama in our love life, but it's because we find that we want to find depth with life and thrill through love. So I just wanted to note the importance of how you may be feeling this transit, simply put, because it's ruled by the same, because Mars is your ruler and Mars is in its home sign. So this can feel like a very intense action period where you're wanting to embrace your physical energy more, but specifically in your love life. That is because Mars in Scorpio transits your 8th house of your intimate relationships. This is about you wanting to cultivate intimate relationships, cultivate dependent partnerships, spend time in intimate connection with other people, sharing your heart, having good conversation, being vulnerable. I will also note the other interpretation of this, with Mars being in Scorpio, this could be about you doing inner work, self-transformation work, because not only do we have intimate relationships to others, but we have intimate relationship to ourselves. And Scorpio energy always brings back the reminder for Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising to cultivate an intimate, close relationship and understanding of themselves. So simply put, Mars in Scorpio also says that your action is most rewarding the more you focus on depth, intimate connection, intimacy, closeness. So hence why I say this whole month with Libra season already, you're focused on connection. And then Scorpio season begins, you're more focused on deep connections, but Mars is here in Scorpio the entire month, which really is about bringing in connections and wearing your heart on your sleeve. I honestly feel this sense that many Aries, Sun, Moon, and Risings could be feeling this sense of, or a good question to ask themselves is, what is the process you think any sort of connection has to follow? Who says you can't just open up to people you immediately met if the energy feels right? I'm not saying you have to go cry to the barista just because they asked how your day was going, but maybe there's this idea of closing the time. The time it takes to get close to someone. Jupiter stays in the sign of Cancer the entire month of October, Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising, which is your 4th house. You're still continuing to expand your capacity to receive emotional nurturance and fulfillment in your home and family. We have had quite a few positive aspects with Jupiter and Cancer. I would recommend you reflect on what has been going on in your home life over the past couple of weeks. Jupiter actually forms quite a few squares this month because Libra is at a 90-degree angle from this. So observe the difference between wanting to be nurtured versus wanting to be connected is what I recommend to my Aries, Sun, Moon, and Risings out there, because it can feel like there's a conflict of interest. Or even simply put, maybe you feel like there's a conflict between your home life and your connections that you want to make. Maybe you're feeling called recently to spend more time at home, to be a homebody, to close the doors. And yet at the same time, if you want connection, you need to get out more. You need to go to the bar. You need to say yes to dates. This could be a bit of a conflict that many Aries are feeling this month because of the square aspect. And so my reminder to you is squares push you to act. They push you to work for the ultimate balance. So how can you achieve and work towards balance in this month between your desire for home and nurturance and your desire for connection? Saturn stays retrograde in the sign of Pisces the entire month of October, which means that many Aries could be reassessing the boundaries they give to themselves in regards to their inner work process. You may be feeling restricted in your ability to set mental boundaries with yourself and maintain discipline in your mindset and beliefs. Simply put, I always want to note with Saturn retrograde, and maybe this is just because I don't have very strong Saturn energy in my chart. After all, my Saturn's in Cancer, so it's directly opposite of its natural home sign. But give yourself grace when it comes to your mindset, when it comes to your inner beliefs, when it comes to shifting your thought patterns. How can you be more easy on yourself, Aries, this month? That's what I recommend to you with this energy of Saturn being in Pisces retrograde. Uranus is retrograde in Gemini the entire month of October as well, where it's gonna be for a long time. This is a macro scale theme where Aries, you're reflecting and revisiting the ideas and thoughts you consider regarding your curiosity, regarding your social network, maybe even changes in your social network. Simply put, with Uranus retrograde, Uranus brings unexpected changes. When it's retrograde, we're reflecting on those unexpected changes and asking ourselves, is there anything else I can derive from this experience I had? For you, Aries, this specifically has to do with your social networks, your social media. That's all I'm going to touch on for Uranus, since it's so global and so macro scale. Drop a comment down below if you want a longer video, Aries, talking about how Uranus retrograde is affecting you. Now, Neptune does one big movement in the month of October, Aries. October 22nd, Neptune retrograde re-enters Pisces. So Neptune is all about our ideals and disillusionment and our fantasies, so to say. It's where we find a higher value or higher values in general. It's said to be the higher octave of Venus, Aries. And so when Neptune stations retrograde back into the sign of Pisces, you can expect to be revisiting and reflecting on your values related to unconditional love for yourself. I think the most beneficial way to look at this transit and simplest way is, Aries, maybe you need to revisit how you expect yourself to love yourself. This is very similar to the energies of Saturn being retrograde here, as it is in the same sign. Now, granted, there's different planetary themes here, but Neptune is an invitation to ask yourself, do I need to uphold more moral standard for myself in regards to how I treat myself? Do I need to be better at loving myself? Do I need to be better at being more compassionate? In a sense, Neptune and Saturn being together in Pisces, both retrograde, is asking you to reflect on, do I need to be more disciplined to be nicer to myself? So at long last, in the month of October, we'll station direct in the sign of Aquarius on October 13th, which is a big relief where we can expect to feel a sense of transformation beginning once again, which I know people fearmonger Pluto, but Pluto's like being in the metamorphosis period, being like a caterpillar in the cocoon. And so instead of feeling like our process of transformation is delayed, it starts to make progress once again. My biggest advice to you with this transit, Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising, is to look back over the summer until roughly from June to now. What were you feeling in regards to your sense of importance, your purpose, your belonging in your community? You may have felt like you were backpedaling on something that you expected or wanted in your community and purpose. And now you are moving back forward in alignment with what you think you want to value. Pluto is said to be the higher octave of Mars. And so this is our transformative actions. In a sense, it's like the things we do that are breaking the status quo for ourselves, or the things we do that are less habitual. So you're doing something now once again in regards to your community, your friends, your sense of importance, and how you find a sense of belonging. Now, unfortunately, Chiron is still retrograde in your sign, Aries, which really is not that unfortunate. Retrogrades are not meant to be fear-mongering, but you're still reassessing if there's any other wounds regarding your sense of self that need healing. Black Moon Lilith will be hanging out in the sign of Scorpio the entire month of October, which is asking you and inviting you to identify any fears of rejection you have regarding being too much. I wanted to really note Black Moon Lilith for you, Aries, because it's in Scorpio and we have so much Scorpio energy present this month. There may be this desire for depth and desire for intimacy, Aries, and yet at the same time, you could find yourself self-sabotaging because you're afraid of opening up to some degree. Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio in transit really does indicate, hey, there are, as a statement, some unconscious fears you have regarding intimate relationships, whether that's fear of abandonment, fear of being too much, fear of rejection, fear of being made fun of. In the end, this all has to do with rejection wounds because that's what Black Moon Lilith deals with. But this is specifically rejection in your intimate relationships. And finally, final transit to note, the lunar nodes, or also known as the nodes of fate, stay in the signs of Virgo and Pisces. The North Node is still transiting Pisces this month. The South Node is still transiting Virgo. They are pretty much exactly at their halfway point in the journey. So this can be a good time to reflect on how the last 9 months gone in regards to you trying to practice more trust, faith, and surrender and stop overworking. How have you refined your work life? How have you refined your mindset? What have you learned so far about your unconscious beliefs and unconscious fears? This transit overall, I do like to note above all else that in a sense, all other transits serve the North and South Node transits, because wherever the North Node transits, that's where we're going and growing to next. And so Aries, you are still in a phase as of January of 2025 of growing to and through your unconscious work process, meaning prioritizing your inner world, prioritizing meditation, prioritizing psychology, addressing unconscious beliefs, refining your mindset. Really, Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising, you guys are on an inner work journey recently. And that doesn't mean you can't claim and find love right now. After all, that is a major theme for you. But with the North Node here in Pisces, this is still an ongoing major theme of constantly, until July of 2025 or 2026, refining your inner work. And so I like to remind all my signs that by doing work based off of where the North Node is transiting, you do tend to attract what it is you desire. So Aries, when all else fails and you don't know what to do, how can you practice more compassion, empathy, and unconditional love to yourself by shifting your beliefs? How can you practice better thought patterns? How can you make time for rest and space? And how can you work in a way that actually feels like it's selfless and thriving and not burning yourself out? I know for me, an example of that even too is taking more time to film these videos. And as I'm filming them for you guys, not considering or worrying about them being too long. Because working, even if it's more time, but with a calmer pace, sharing what I want to share with you guys, and aligning with the belief that, you know what? If they like the video, they like the video. If they don't, then they don't. It has been extremely helpful for me. So really embracing the pace of life that is being presented to you and aligning with maybe a slower pace of life is overall what's recommended, Aries. So overall, with that all in mind, what is my final advice and recommendations for you, Aries, in the month of October of 2025? I want to give you guys some quick key takeaways on how to align with these energies and what to focus on. And this is all going to be what I covered on that little desktop wallpaper / screenshotable thing that I made for you guys. So if you want to recap these, if you want the summary, I invite you to go back to that timestamp and take a screenshot, where I'm going to share the same things over again. In the end, the dominant energy, even though I said that the North Node is very important, the dominant energy of this month is about your relationships, Aries. It's funny because I've really come full circle in that I used to say, oh, sun transits, oh, they're so overrated. But sometimes the sun transits, they really just simplify what we're being called to do. And the sun, I really do like using that metaphor that it's like how we plant fruits, vegetables, flowers. There's a season for everything. And so Aries, this is your season for connection. You've really spent the last 6 months, the last 6 months focusing on you. You've really cultivated your sense of self since your guys' birthday season. That's what the first 6 months from your birthday always represent, is how do I build me? Who am I? What do I need for security? What do I like to learn? How do I feel? What do I serve? And now you're getting to connect with others. And it's not that you had to become perfect in order to bring in this connection, but now is truly a good time for that. And I think everyone wants connection. Everyone wants love, but oftentimes many of us, especially my subscribers, followers, clients, feel this sense that, well, I need to be more perfect. I need to be more healed to let in a love that I'm worthy of. And part of that is having our just expectations not met. And so I think a really big piece of advice I'd give to Aries this month is not only to pursue connection, but also, well, 2 things have already come to me in the time that I said those words. 1, try to change your thoughts when you're interacting with people. Let's say I say, go on dates, go meet with friends. How can you create the most positive assumption about them? How can you expect the best out of them? I think everyone has had disappointments in relations before, whether it's friendships, partnerships, friends, and we start to then anticipate the bad. But I listen a lot to the Kabbalah, I listen to David Guillaume a lot, and he really talks about how this is a form of what he calls evil eye, to assume the negative or to create or pass a judgment on someone. So how can you anticipate the positive, especially because everyone wants connection? In Aries, this is your season to plant, nurture, and grow your connections. And secondarily, write out what you would really expect from a relationship. I think this would be a really good month for my Aries to journal and write out what they want from a connection. For example, I think many of my Aries have really become independent more over the last year and a half since the North Node transited Aries from 2022 to 2023, or 2023 to 2025 is what I mean. And so with that transit, I think Aries, you guys have gotten all used to doing things on your own, such as, I don't need anyone to go to the coffee shop with me, or I don't need anyone to go travel with me. I'm just gonna go travel by myself. Z-snap, girl power, and for my guys watching, guy power. But ask yourself now, these things you've learned to do alone, what kind of personality, what kind of character would not only just get along with you in these interactions you've learned to do on your own, but what character would bring value? I think for me, this has really been a journey of really trying to understand maybe the character I thought I wanted who would get along with me is not the character that would bring value. Maybe there is a different kind of personality that would actually add to my experience rather than just get along. For me, it's really about the concept of, oh, what if I just want someone who's fun in many ways, rather than this whole list of things. So ask yourself, Aries, this is a great month to not only prioritize your connections, but really get clear on what or who you want to connect with. And make sure you're still making time for that time behind closed doors. We still do have Jupiter in Cancer, and I think many Aries are going to feel this sense that they need to have those quieter moments. And additionally, those quieter moments could just be making time for those who feel like home. And this kind of goes hand in hand with 8th house energy. So as much as you should be putting out feelers to new people, new connections, new friends, make sure you're also making time for those quieter moments with those people who you feel like you can be authentic with. And thirdly, I would challenge you, Aries, Sun, Moon, and Risings. How can you be more vulnerable with people? Now, again, this doesn't mean crying to the person you just met or telling your server all about your day, but notice the invitations you receive to be honest. A good one that makes me think of this, I was out country swing dancing last night, and someone asked me what's new. And it didn't even, he was basically asking what's new, how are you? And instead of being honest, it was just so habitual to just make a joke, and which is funny to hear me say, but I basically bypassed the opportunity to be honest when I could have been very honest in that situation. And it doesn't mean I have to be negative, but I could have just taken an extra second longer to breathe for a second and really think about the answer that I want to share with that question. So maybe that's something that you want to do this month, Aries. Overall, October is a really big month for you, extremely positive. The final things I would note as well, I personally like physical items for intention setting and aligning to energies. Hence why I make all these wallpapers and I pick my earrings every day. But also one thing I really love is crystal bracelets. Recently I've gotten a few from Otter Spirit, and they do have a Libra collection that really aligns with these energies well. I'll put it in the description box down below, but it has, I believe, rainbow moonstone, aquamarine, and rose quartz, which are really good for giving yourself grace, compassion, being honest and speaking your truth. Aquamarine is really about reminding us to have the courage to be honest and courage to be authentic. And a moonstone I really like aligning with the energies with for this month, because we have so many moon transits happening, so many different positive aspects to the moon, and that I feel like moonstone would really go well with that. So if you're like me and you want to have some physical grounding tools, I really recommend Otter Spirit's bracelets. I have them linked down in the description box below. I will specifically link to the crystal, the Libra bracelets specifically, and you can use the code Isabel20 to get 20% off your order. And if you order it now, which I will hopefully publish this pretty soon, you should get it within 1 or 2 weeks, I believe. So you'll have it for the majority of October or sooner if I publish this video sooner. And of course, if you want to go deeper into how October is going to play out for you based off of your unique birth chart, not just your sun, your moon, and your rising, but your entire natal chart, your signs, your houses, and more, I invite you to book a reading down in the description box below, where in 1 hour we can give you your complete guide to the stars of October, what October is calling you to do specifically, how this ties into your greater life's purpose, and how you can align with these energies to manifest anything you desire. Aries, we've had a very intense eclipse season last month, and so a reading can also be a really great opportunity to reflect on what you've been through, to get clear and let go of some of the things that maybe are still on your mind. So if you're looking for someone to talk to, if you're looking for more guidance on the month ahead, readings are for you. Check them out in the description box below. And finally, if you liked this video but wish you didn't have to pause it always to screenshot the overlays, I invite you to join my weekly newsletter, where I send both weekly forecasts and monthly forecasts for the stars. So you get updated straight to your inbox every Sunday and at the first of every month for the transits that are going to be coming your way, the advice for the month, what to do, what not to do maybe during this month, recommendations, advice, and also exclusive deals as well. So join the weekly newsletter down in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Please let me know down in the comments below if this was too long for your taste, and I will go back to my shorter video template. Thank you guys so much for watching though. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Once again, my name's Isabel, from my heart to yours. Namaste.